Come on.
Okay, sugar balls, listen up. Gonna heat up faster than a junkie spoon. You do one thing when you wake up tomorrow. Bring it.
America! All right, welcome to MetaMentors Crypto Rewind and Forecast, September 15th, 2023. We're coming up on 100 videos and we don't have 100 subscribers yet. We're way better than that. As soon as we get out, we're going straight to the moon. So help us get there, pretty please, if you like what we're doing. 4 main stories and 1 quick story at the end. So we've got 5. We're going to run through these. Number 2 of the 3 most crucial markers to send Bitcoin to $5 million. You heard that right. $5 million a coin has just been okayed. If billionaires are buying Bitcoin, then why are you not? FTX gets court approval to liquidate $3.4 billion in crypto. How is that going to impact the market and you as an investor? When you hear the word airdrop, Ben, you need to be thinking free. Free! Booyah! Ben's going to tell us Ben's going to teach us how, what, and where to get some free airdrops. And then last, I'm going to just give a quick update on Enjin Coin. It's been pumping when everybody else is dumping. We covered that back in November 2022. Let's go. All right, as always, Bitcoin's in the news, and this one is a big one. Let's get into it.
So he says, fair value accounting is coming to Bitcoin. This upgrade to FASB accounting rules eliminates a major impediment to corporate adoption of Bitcoin as a treasury asset.
All right, FASB votes in favor of fair value accounting for Bitcoin. This is a big deal. Big deal. Financial Accounting Standards Board, FASB, is set to introduce new fair value accounting rules for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. These rules aim to provide more accurate reflection of the market value of these digital assets. Why is that important? Bitcoin has been a challenging aspect of financial reporting for companies. The volatile nature of these digital assets has made it difficult to accurately assess their fair market value. So you have all the fluctuations in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin also making it hard for investors to actually value it. The old treatment accounted for Bitcoin as an intangible asset, which meant if the price went lower than what companies bought it for, had to take an impairment charge on these books. We're going to get into that just a little bit, even if they didn't sell it. So they got to take an impairment charge, even if they didn't sell it. But if the price went up, they couldn't receive any benefit on their books unless they sold. So negative, no positive until this fair accounting rule has been brought to light. This could make companies more likely to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet and become long-term holders as they report and appreciate as the currencies appreciate without having to sell them. So they can take advantage of the value now. Fair value accounting also aligns with the growing acceptance of Bitcoin in maintaining or mainstream finance. We talk about it all the time, institutional money coming into the crypto area. And this is one of the 3 biggest markers that's going to send Bitcoin to $5 billion if you ask Michael Saylor. But don't take my word. I'm going to put him on. Go ahead, Ben.
I think you said 5 billion with a B.
Thank you. $5 million.
Okay.
I was getting ahead of myself. It's going to go to 5 billion also. But
I was getting ready to go sell everything else I owned and just buy whatever I could.
It's going to 5 billion. It's just got to hit 5 million along the way. So it's just a stepping stone. 5 million is what Michael Saylor had said. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear from him directly.
Take Michael Saylor's word.
I don't know if he's a Bitcoin or crypto in general. Is that the thing? And then
I think there's 3. Look, first of all, it's going up by a factor of 10, whether they fix any of the stuff, right? It's going to go it's going to be a grind up by a factor of 10 just because gold is broken and Bitcoin's going to replace gold. And now everybody in the universe knows they need a non-sovereign store of value in the form of a bearer instrument. So now they're looking, the amount of stories for last year, people said inflation may be coming. We're not sure. Now the mainstream narrative is flipped to inflation is here. You need inflation hedge. So it's going to grind up to replace gold. It'll go to $500,000 a coin, regardless of whether they fix these things. But there are 3 things that are massive catalysts that cause an acceleration. And I don't think that those 3 things don't take us to 500,000. They take us to 5 million a coin, right? Those 3 things are a spot ETF where someone can go ahead and buy $100 million of Bitcoin, buy a security, an ETF security. I think that's 1. 2 is your bank is going to custody it for you and lend against it. And 3 is I can mark it up or mark it down on my balance sheet based on fair value, pari passu.
So there you go. So Bitcoin ETF, we know that that's well in the works. Fair market value accounting. We're going to get into a little bit more on why that is such a huge deal. And then the last thing is banks custodying your Bitcoin and lending against it. We've talked about that. I've said that out loud, that eventually we're going to be at a point where nobody will be selling their Bitcoin unless they're absolutely forced to for some circumstance. They won't be selling their Bitcoin. They'll just be leveraging against it because it's so valuable. So let's hear a little bit more about why this fair market accounting is such a huge deal.
Up like in 2021 and going down like in 2022. The problem is when it goes down, and let's say you bought Bitcoin at $56,000 in 2021, and now it drops to 16,000, which was the low price, let's say, for Bitcoin. You have $40,000 of loss per Bitcoin. You have to take that loss, even if Bitcoin goes from 16 to 28, even if Bitcoin goes from 16 to 200,000, which I think will happen within a couple years probably. But the bottom line is, even if Bitcoin goes back up, you still have $40,000 loss per Bitcoin. And on your balance sheet, right, people talk about Apple and other public companies having big balance sheets. Your balance sheet has just shrunk by $40,000 per Bitcoin, or when you go from 56 to 16, by almost 75% or so. And that's a big hit. Especially if you're like MSTR or a company like that has a lot of Bitcoin as a percentage of your assets.
And that must have been like a huge, like that's a disincentive for public companies to
Yes.
put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, because it just becomes an accounting nightmare.
Yeah, huge disincentive. And now that should go away by 2025.
Okay, so there you go. This rule takes place basically in 2025, but companies are probably going to be allowed to start doing it prior to. But they're telling you that if Bitcoin lost value, if a company buys it and holds it on their books, like MicroStrategy, Tesla, those are some of your main ones. If Bitcoin decreases in value, like it has over the last year plus in this bear market, then the company gets penalized for that. They have to pay an actual impairment charge. So like MicroStrategies, to give you an idea, in 2022, paid over $100 million in impairment charges. I'm bringing it up here. They paid $197 million in impairment charges. So not only do they lose the value from what they bought it from, they have to pay these impairment charges. The year before, they paid like $727,000. So they take a hit. So that gets reversed if a fair market value is assessed like they're proposing, or that's going to happen going into place. And they get to take advantage if the currency increases. So let's jump up ahead here. All right, here's the last little part. I wanted to throw this in. This gets off a little bit of the impairment, but it's about 30 seconds.
Ruling against winning against the SEC. The problem is that the SEC has the option to delay. They can come up with other reasons. And they did file 37 sealed documents or so in their case against Binance on the same day that they lost to Grayscale. Coincidence? Probably not in that case, at least not in terms of the timing. And the reason for the 37 sealed docs could be because they're cooperating with the DOJ, which does often do sealed indictments or
Okay, so this is a little bit different, but I wanted to throw this in because I had not heard this before. But Grayscale was just won their case on getting to move forward with the Bitcoin, or won. They didn't win the case, but they won the ability to move forward. On the same day, the SEC filed 37 sealed documents against Binance. And this guy's speculating. It's a little bit of speculation, but in the history, when they file sealed documents, that means they work with the DOJ. So what does that mean? We could see, and we're starting to see it unravel maybe a little bit too. Binance may or may not be in a lot of trouble, which would be a massive hit to the crypto market, being the largest exchange as they are. And just here in the news, the president for Binance USA just stepped down, and they had to lay off like a large part of their employees. So man, there's a lot of stuff happened. So we move way forward with the fair value, FASB, fair value, and then but we also possibly take a hit there with what's going on with what he just talked about. And why that's important to note is he's speculating that's going to delay the spot Bitcoin ETF rolling out. So a constant back and forth. Just thought that was good information. Let me close up on this fair value market or fair value accounting. A couple notes that I took away from this. Nobody wants to be penalized for their assets. Think of being a homeowner and your home loses value just, over a period of time and being penalized for that. Like, that would suck, let alone if your company and your financial sheets are what justify you getting credit to operate your business. What this does is it further legitimizes Bitcoin as an asset, which we're constantly moving in this direction. And here is the biggest aha that I kind of took out of this. If Bitcoin is considered so valuable that a company like MicroStrategy would invest, $4 billion into it, knowing that they could have to pay impairment charges if it loses value, why they're waiting for it to go up. How freaking valuable do you think Bitcoin is? I mean, they're investing billions of dollars in Bitcoin, knowing that they may have to pay impairment charges along the way of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in this case. But yet MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, still thinks Bitcoin is so valuable, he's willing to pay out hundreds of millions of dollars of impairment charges just for the future value of Bitcoin. Real legit. If you were a billionaire, and one day you will be, Ben, would you be buying Bitcoin?
Yes. In fact, that's how I make most of my financial decisions, is whatever billionaires are doing, I just do the same thing on a much smaller scale. So this Mexican multi-billionaire just did an interview, must have been last week, actually 1 week ago today, did an interview, and he was talking about why he is all in on Bitcoin. And obviously a lot of the financial moves that you and I can make are pale in comparison to something that a billionaire would do. But Bitcoin is the one type of asset, and I'm sure there's more assets, but but there's no unique real estate deals. There's no, it's really hard for you and I to buy into
get exposure to,
to buy like a baseball stadium or any property on Fifth Avenue in New York City. Like, we don't have the ability to get into that. But
although with tokenization, that might be a possibility.
It might be in the future. But right now, Bitcoin is the one type of an asset that it's like, well, the price is this for everybody. And because it can be broken down to
Satoshis,
down to tiny Satoshis, it means the same asset, when that price moves, it moves for everybody the exact same way. So if you buy in $100 and he buys in $1 billion and it doubles, he gets $2 billion, but your $100 doubles as well, and you get 200. And so this is an asset that you can actually look at and see, what are these smart people with money doing? What are they investing in? Obviously, if it's yachts and stuff like that, it's like, well, that doesn't work the same way with boats. If I buy a fishing boat and he buys a $100 million yacht, the prices don't go up and down the same way. But Bitcoin literally does. And you can literally start with pocket change. You know what I mean? A couple bucks here and there, 20 bucks a month, 10 bucks a month, 100 bucks a month. And you're getting in on the exact same thing. There's no hidden fees. There's no, maybe that's not it. I mean, because if you buy it on, depending on where you get it, there are fees, but there's no hidden transactions. There's no back market Bitcoin deals. You know what I mean? The price is what the price is, and it goes across the board. So whenever I see people like this Mexican multi-billionaire buying Bitcoin, I think this is a guy who's made a lot of money from a lot of smart decisions. And right now he has this whole long interview on why he is buying the Bitcoin, what made him do it. And it's a very long interview, but it's very detailed. He talks about money in general and why Bitcoin checks all the boxes that he's looking for in a good asset. And in fact, he's pretty popular down in Mexico. I don't know if he's like a Mexican Elon Musk, but a lot of people listen to what he has to say. So on his Twitter the other day, he was listing off some books that people should read if they really want to take the next step in their life. And among books like Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins, The Art of Living by Epictetus, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. He's got The Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean Amos.
I'm reading that one right now. I just started 3 days ago.
That's a lot of people say, man, that is, well, he calls it the Bible for Bitcoin. He says it breaks it down and it explains what it is. And he said he's just never been so sure about something. He bought a lot of Bitcoin when it was $200 and then bought more when it was 400. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands. And then when it got to 800, almost 1,000, he thought he was the smartest man in the world. So he sold it all. And then it wasn't a while until he really started looking into what Bitcoin was. It wasn't just a coin, wasn't just a currency, but he started realizing what it was. And now he's buying to hold. So I love stories like that. I know I'm a, what do they call that? When you just want to hear something, you want to be affirmed. You want to hear the thing that you're looking for. Like we like Bitcoin. We love Bitcoin. So it's always nice to hear people who also like Bitcoin. And I know that's not the best way. Thankfully, on this channel, we do look at just about any news that's coming from Bitcoin. And I mean, you just gave us some bad news about Bitcoin. So
yeah,
it's always coming. There's good news, there's bad news. But he's like, oh, I don't care. He's like Michael Saylor. He's like, I'll do whatever it takes. He said one of the big problems right now is custody. It's very hard for the average person to get in and get custody of Bitcoin.
That probably is the biggest hurdle. The biggest fear.
And he said that's obviously gonna change once ETFs and stuff like that start opening up. Bank of America, once they realize they're beat, they're gonna have no other option but have to get into the space and go, well, we'll hold your Bitcoin for you. And he said that's where it'll really start to change because, like free checking accounts now, he's like, oh, the beauty of free checking accounts is banks make so much money from them because there's fees, there's this, there's that. But when people start buying and holding Bitcoin, they're actually going to have to charge you to, if you want,
to be
institutional custody, because there's no other way that they'll make money from it, because that's your real money, because they can't charge you if you don't have it. They can't, you know what I mean? There's no checking account attached to it that you can overdraw. So he said that'd be a big step for getting the average person. But he also made mention that places like America with assets like Bitcoin, not necessarily. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. My headphones came out. I'm moving my hands too much.
You're getting going. We're excited.
He said places like America, although you don't have access to all the cryptocurrencies, we're blessed because you can start a free Coinbase account and you can start dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin at any price, at any dollar amount per week or per month or per year, per quarter, however you want to do it. And it's just a very positive, you had positive and negative stuff, but I love seeing rich people buy something that I can go right now and also buy. When people are like, if Elon Musk goes, man, you should really buy Bitcoin. I'm in.
You can do it for a couple bucks.
I'm in. You can buy it for a couple bucks and you can just start your own little hoard right now. And when the billionaire triples his money and now has $3 billion in Bitcoin, whatever you've put into Bitcoin will also have tripled. You don't get left out in the cold. You don't get, well, they sold their stuff. The way the stock market works, there's a lot of ins and outs that a lot of regular people are not privy to. And Bitcoin and people who facilitate Bitcoin transactions are really trying to make that not the case with crypto.
That's why it was made. That's the whole story of Bitcoin in the first place. Good stuff. Lots happening.
Exciting.
All right. This week in the news, some big news. FTX gets court approval to sell billions in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. A lot of people are immediately worried that, is this going to crash the market? What's going to happen? That's not the case. So on Wednesday approved that defunct crypto brand can now sell $3.4 billion, mostly in Solana, Ethereum, and Bitcoin, amongst other currencies. This happened in the state of Delaware. According to the plan, FTX will cap its selling at 100 million worth of tokens per week and limited up to 2 million individual tokens on a special circumstance. Court filing shows that FTX owns $1.16 billion in Solana, $560 million in Bitcoin, $192 million in Ethereum, $137 million in Aptos. Those are the biggest ones, and then multiple others. But I've got a short clip that's going to explain just a little bit better about how this is going to happen and the impact that it will have.
Before you show the clip, it is good news. I mean, I feel like it's good news. It might temporarily, when you flood the market with anything, the price could go down. But the reason they're doing it, correct me if I'm wrong, is to recover funds to get some of the people who got screwed over their money back, correct?
That's exactly correct.
Now, it'll probably start with institutional getting those guys paid back. You know, the bigger, again, it probably won't be the small guys getting paid back first.
That's usually,
But they had several $1 billion go missing, and if they can recover a few billion, then there's a chance that some people could get made right in this situation, which would be good for everybody.
Yeah, no, it's much preferred, and the impact isn't going to be that bad. But let's jump over to this clip.
The most important point is you can see here there are the unlock schedule for 4 million SOL, 12 million SOL, and 34.5 million SOL. Call it 51, 52 million SOL. And this will be a monthly unlock out to 2027, 2028. So not a lot. It'll be about $9.2 million worth every week. $9.2 million. Okay. Keep that in the back of your head. Then we'll go to the March 2025. This is the big unlock that is also scaring a lot of people. But remember, it's nearly 2 years away. Year and a half, 2 years, whatever you want to call it. You see here, 7.5 million full balance unlocks on the 1st of March 2025. That would be about 15% of weekly volume. Again, they're not going to dump it all in the same day. They'll dump it over a lot of weeks. But again, it's years and years away. So will it really hurt? And remember, March 2025, we'll be well into the Bitcoin bull run. And
okay, so there's this is Invest Answers. He always puts together like a lot of detailed graphs and stuff. So $3.4 billion being dumped onto the market sounds like a whole lot, but it's spread out over multiple years. A lot of it's still locked up, and like he said, majority of it could be in 2025, which will be well into the bull market. Almost everybody believes at that point. So ultimately, it's all good. It looks like, Ben, to put it simply. People that have had a lot of their crypto and money stolen from them going to get some back. Hopefully, looks that way. And it doesn't look like it's going to impact the market that much. So mostly this was just attractive for the news, not going to be a huge impact as far as we're concerned from what we can see.
All right. Well, I think it was last week we were talking about airdrops. And as I started to look more into them, you know, we'd kind of mentioned, oh, you want to keep your finger on the pulse and know when the airdrops are coming and try to figure out, you know, follow some people on Twitter. And that way, you know when to get signed up for these. And some of them, all you got to do is give them your wallet address, your public address, not your 12 key address, right?
Whoa.
But you just give them your wallet address, and it's just kind of a way to kind of build some hype around the project. And so Milk Road, who I talk about a lot, their newsletter, they recommended this person right here. The name is Leshka.eth. And I think it's a she, Leshka, this account follows, and they're always posting stuff about new airdrops. So if you're on Twitter, Leshka.eth, follow that account, and it will show you all of these airdrops that are coming up, all the different exchanges that have airdrops, all the different projects that have airdrops. And it's weird. I did not realize how many.
That seems like a really easy and fast way just to keep track of them and get some free stuff.
Right. So just what she's talked about in the last couple of months, Milk Road threw this together. And it's weird because it's like you think, okay, well, if this is what's happening during a down market, what's it going to be like when stuff really starts popping off? You know what I mean? Like, it's been years since we've had real hype around the crypto market, and there's all these places doing different airdrops, or these are the ones that are coming up, not even the ones that have just happened. But this is just on Milk Road, but they've just went down through this Leshka.eth and dug out some of the ones that she's recommended for the upcoming months. And I just thought that was very cool. So on this Milk Road, I'm going to put a link to this down in the description below. But they've got this little crypto airdrops 2023. Oh, here, there. How about that? Where they actually go into and explain all. I mean, they show you the ones that they took off of her account. But then over here on the right-hand side, they've got where they break it down from very beginners. What's an airdrop? Types of airdrops. How do they work? And then just different ones that have kind of came out, and they kind of break them down and go over them. They talk about the upcoming airdrops, how to find them, where to find them, and then how to avoid scams. If you have any questions on that, you could just talk to Ryan, because
you might start with that one.
Ask Ryan how to do it, and he'll the advice he gives you, just avoid completely. So
it's been my whole life doing things the hard way.
So I thought that was cool because, one of the things that we talked about at the beginning of the year was earning crypto for free, was trying to get as much as possible for as little as possible. And I don't think we really even talked about airdrops in our 5 ways to earn free crypto. And the more I've been looking into it, it's like, man, sometimes they're like, oh yeah, if you retweet this, and this is where some of them are scams and some of them sound scammy, but it's like, if you've got a little crypto game, like Star Atlas, before it was Star Atlas, before it was big, any of these Web3 based games, they're only popular if enough people find out about them. So they are trying to do anything they can do to get more people to look at it. And so they say, if you retweet this on Twitter, then blah, and retweet this tweet with your public wallet address, you could be available for either the guaranteed airdrop for a little bit, or you could potentially win a big airdrop. And actually, I was surprised about how many of the exchanges that we use have airdrops all the time. And this little milkroad.com/airdrops, and I'll put that link in the description below. But they really go through it, and it's like MEXC, Binance, all of these do airdrops. Usually they're in partnership with a project coming onto the platform. But that's one of the big ways in crypto to kind of advertise your product or your project. And so I think that's something we need to be keeping an eye on. That's something that when we get back to doing more project-based rather than just updating news, we need to really focus on airdrops and finding airdrops and what projects have airdrops. Because if you can get these little, I think it was Tom Bilyeu who was talking about one of the NFT projects that he had signed up for, or something like that. And because he owned the NFT, they airdropped him these tokens, and he didn't really think much of it because they weren't worth anything. And then when somebody said, hey, you might want to check those, he went back and checked. And I think he said that he cashed out 50 grand. Now, he buys more expensive NFTs than we do, but just stuff like that. I hear that, and the gambler in me, the long shot guy in me, just goes, oh man.
Well, Yuga Labs, had some, with their mutant apes and the dog version. So like, it's where do you want to spend your time, right? That's what I like about this is I love the idea of airdrops, but me researching or paying attention is not realistic. But boom, you put up a Twitter thread that has this and then the Milk Roads post them. Like, it doesn't get any easier than that.
Right. Yeah. And I looked through this Leshka.eth, and not only is it a lot of airdrops, there's a little bit of other stuff, kind of like interesting stuff that's happening in Web3, but it's also not a lot of crap. It's it's mostly airdrop strategies, new projects, stuff like that, the stuff you're looking for. So that plus milkroad.com/airdrops. And I think you got a pretty good starting place to start scooping out some airdrops. at the end of the bear market and going into the bull market when some of these projects start firing back up.
Yeah, get you some free stuff. And speaking of firing up projects, Web3 gaming, some of the best of what's happening. Enjin Coin, which we covered back in November of 2022, has been pumping while everything else, including Bitcoin, was dumping last week. And this is a project. Let me bring it up here. So Enjin Coin, this is one of those projects I'd never heard of, and then you brought it up for us to cover, Ben, and we covered it, like I said, November last year, 2022, and I was hooked. Like this is one of those projects you want to be watching, and so it made top cryptocurrencies with potential for 10x gains. I wanted to keep this real short, but it's a versatile social gaming ecosystem. Within a versatile platform, users have the ability to build websites, forge alliances, form clans, engage in interactive chats, and establish virtual items. A lot of people are saying, and you don't want to hear the given part, but a lot of people are saying Enjin Coin, once the bull market starts again, is an easy 10x. And they've got so much stuff that they're intertwined with as far as foundational pieces. And like you and I talk about, we like the picks and axes. We want the foundational pieces. We get distracted by the flashy free airdrops, which, you never know what you're going to get foundational wise there, but we like the foundational pieces. Enjin Coin is intertwined with so many projects that, not financial advice, but I don't see how they're not around for a long time and are instrumental in some of these projects.
Right. Well, a lot of the projects are getting built on and with the Enjin Coin, because that was the one that we talked about, how they could make NFTs with the coin and then eventually break down the NFTs back into the Enjin Coin. They have so many great ideas for the Web3 that people with great ideas are going to Enjin Coin to help them create their projects. So it's not a great idea that they're hoping competes with all the, they are, like you said, the picks and axes. Everybody is coming to them and going, hey, help us get this out. We have an idea for this. And they've got such good ideas and such revolutionary concepts with the crypto market, a lot of stuff that people aren't doing yet, that they're not the one that might succeed or fail. Obviously, there's always the chance that could happen, but it's like people are like, well, that's the way to go. If you've got a good idea, go to Enjin Coin and they will help you succeed. So
yeah, and if I remember right, it is a decreasing supply. I think I don't think it was is that right? Okay, yeah. This was one we're keeping an eye on. We could go on forever. We're in a bear market, and this is one of those projects that is just building silently.
Before we do go off, I do want to just say, because I get excited about that when I'm looking at traditional investing and they say you're hoping for 7% a year, which means what is it, 7 years ish?
Yeah,
you double your money, you get your 2x. So it's like when they're like, yo, these are going to be 10x quickly. It's like, even if they fall 80% short, it's still twice as good as a lot of traditional. And it's just because, if you think back to the technology growth, the way this stuff has grown, it's like 1x and 2x over a year. It's not even in the same page. When you can get 100 million people onboarded with a new technology that is very cheap to produce and has the ability to do what some of these projects are doing, the money and the growth is extraordinary, and you don't have to wait for them to go public or get stock, or have shareholders or get a full board or a committee. It's like you're right there on the ground floor. They're like, hey, we're going to launch this Enjin Coin and we're going to do this, this, and this. And it's like you can jump in like these airdrops. I mean, that's like day one. You can get in day one on these and ride them up. And I know, we don't want to, really hype up everything and just make it sound like we're just shilling coins here, but it's the ability to maybe double your money with some of these is so possible that it doesn't make any sense not to try on some of them. Don't, bet the farm on some of these smaller coins. But if you've got some extra money and you're looking for a way to kind of get in with some of these technology, some of this AI company, a lot of this stuff that's going on that's got the potential for exponential growth. Whew.
It's fun, man.
I love it. I love it. I love the risk of it too. I mean, like the Mexican billionaire was talking. He's like, well, I've always been, not too worried about risk because I'm pretty good at making money. So even if I lost it all, I could figure out a way to make it back up. And I've never been that good at making money, but I've also never been afraid to take risks with money. So that's why I don't have any money. But
you got the
we'll
one
see.
side going.
All I need,
real good.
All I need is one good play. That's what every gambler says, but I believe it.
One play away. We appreciate you guys watching this channel. We hope we're bringing you some value. It's fun to talk about this stuff right now. We're in a bear market. It's not doing anything. But as Ben and I believe with our whole heart that in a short amount of time, we're going to be talking about Enjin Coin again when it's back at its high at $4 and something. We're like, hey, remember when we were just talking about that 8 months ago, 28 months ago or what? I mean, so thanks for spending time with us. We hope you're finding value, and we hope that you're going to ride, make some good choices and ride this wave up to the top in this next bull market, which is coming on strong.
We literally have to shut down these episodes because if we just got on here and just talked just between us to just talk about stuff that is going on, even in the bear market, we would talk for hours. Yeah. So for the sake of people who may ever watch this episode, we try to keep it a little more crisp and succinct and just tell quick blurbs about each story. But when Ryan and I start talking about crypto, we go on and on and on because there's just so much going on and it is so exciting. There's so many projects that we're both in. There's so many projects that we want to get in. There's so many projects coming down the pipe that we're like, oh my gosh, how do I get in? That, I mean, we could just talk forever. So,
but we're not. We're going to end it right here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next episode.
Wait, one more thing. No, I don't have anything.
All right, we're out.
See ya.